Life. I was very young, very curious, and I remember that night was the first time I saw this guy who I would then spend the next 3 years sort of gazing at and gazing upon from a distance. He was very, very well known in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. Cinnamon brown complexion, very long eyelashes, dark curly hair. He wasn't muscular, but very toned. He was a bit shorter than me. I'm 5'8", so he was like 5'7", 5'6". He had just like flawless skin, like not a mark, not a bump, anywhere. Very well-groomed, straight white teeth, just a very attractive, well put together guy. And he and I were the same age, and every time I would see him, he would be with like the same one or two other guys, and he would always be in the middle of the dance floor, doing his thing or whatever. I would most of the times also be on the dance floor, but there were times when I would just like be on the outskirts and just looking at him, and I just thought that he was so beautiful, so beautiful. At the time, however, I was in a relationship. And very in love, you know what I mean? I was very in love, so I wasn't even, the idea of cheating or, giving my number to other people and things like that wasn't really even on, my register. I just thought this guy was very, very hot. And then 3 years later, my boyfriend and I had broken up, which I thought would be for the last time. And I began to explore. And I went to my first ball at the Paradox in Baltimore. And I was 24 at the time. And that was the night that I met Cinnamon Brown. He and I exchanged numbers. Neither one of us at the time had a car. I lived in Northwest Baltimore. He lived in like Suitland, which is a 45 minute drive from Baltimore. So at the time, my friend Aaron, I told him, that I had finally met Cinnamon Brown, and Aaron was excited for me, and he was just like, oh, you've got to go see him. You got to go spend time with him, Zim. And I was like, well, how? And he was like, what do you mean, how? Take my truck. And so at night, he would allow me to use his truck to go and see Cinnamon Brown. And the first time that Cinnamon Brown and I hung out behind closed doors at his place, and it was a very modest place. He didn't really have much furniture or anything, and but we were very young, and like both of us were like 24 at the time. We sat and talked literally for hours, and he shared his photo album with me. And I'm a very inquisitive person, so I began to ask a lot of questions, and I didn't see that many pictures of him and his mom, and I asked, like, well, show me your mother, because I wanted to see her, because he was so gorgeous, and I was like, well, she must be Naomi Campbell, and he began to share with me stories about her, and how, while he was growing up, she was strung out on drugs really bad. And he would tell me how at a very young age, at like 7, 8 years old, he knew that he was cute. He knew that he was cute because his teachers would tell him, and the women in the neighborhood would tell him, and his grandmother would tell him, and he just knew that he was cute. So he said, he would go stand outside the grocery store, and he knew that men and women would give him money so he could go in the store and buy food to fix for him and his sister. And his sister was like 3 or 4 years younger. And I, really felt him as he told the story, because he seemed to still be very connected to that. But he was very adamant about the fact that, all he's ever wanted his entire life was to have a relationship with his mother that he, was trying to establish at that point in time. That he said, he loved his mom, and regardless of, her drug issues and her problems, he really just loved her. He didn't really know his dad or have a relationship with his father. At least that's what he said, or how he explained it to me. So, we didn't do anything physically that first night, but I felt so just amazed, because, when you see someone in public and they look the part, you oftentimes don't think that they have such issues in their past, or even in their present, because they're so well put together in public environments. Many years later, because as he and I lost touch and I got back into my relationship, you know, I started hearing stories about him. And it really alarmed me because I was being told, you know, things like he was basically escorting himself, prostituting himself, you know, getting money from guys to pay his rent and pay bills. He was doing this and doing that. And I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to believe it just because in the gay community, if you're an attractive guy who's very popular, everyone makes up stories and spreads rumors and lies. And, you know, I had already become a victim of that. So it wasn't so easy for me to believe. But I did then begin to remember the conversation he and I had, how he said, you know, he always knew he was cute and that he could use his face to get what he wanted from people. And if you realize that at the age of 7 and 8, you know, it's not so far-fetched to believe at the age of 24, 25, 26 years old that, you know, now that you are fully developed into this beautiful man, that you would not do the same things to get the money you want to do or get the things you need, you know. The next time I saw him was the summer of 2005, the night of the Destiny's Child concert. Two of my friends and I, after the concert, went to Club 5 in DC. Who remembers Club 5? That night I walked into the bathroom because I literally had to piss, and I didn't see any feet in the stall that I pushed open. And Cinnamon Brown was standing there with a friend, and they were snorting coke, and, you know, he was like, shut your door, shut your door, shut your door. And he smiled at me, offered me some, and I kind of was just like, you know, good to see you. And, you know, he offered me some and I declined, walked out, and that was the last time I ever saw him alive. 2 years later, I started receiving text messages, and it was all on MySpace that he had passed away from HIV. I share that story with you as a way of suggesting you've got to realize that, especially in the gay community, when you see these pretty boys, these sexy, handsome, cute faces, understand that what you're looking at is the edited, censored cover. And behind that edited, censored cover lies a story. A story filled with a tortured spirit, a damaged soul, trials that many of us could never even imagine. But you sit and idolize these young men when you see them filtering 3 and 4 different photos through your Instagram timeline every day, not realizing that the reason why they have so much time to do that is because when they wake up in the mornings, many of them don't have jobs. They don't have a class to go to. You know, they're sleeping on a friend's couch, barely trying to make ends meet, paying their bills by dating, sleeping with, escorting themselves, being flown from this state to that state by older men who are paying their bills. And it all seems so glamorous. But there really is nothing glamorous about having to use your body and your face in a way that isn't celebratory of your soul. You're not being paid to model beyond the bathroom. You're literally sleeping with men for money. So you have all the time in the world to lay on your friend's couch and take pictures on Instagram and post them. And when we see those pictures, and when you see those photos, and you see this person has 400, 500 likes and 2,000, 3,000 people are following them, and you don't understand that a lot of the times the reason why they're posting those photos is because subconsciously they need the accolades from strangers, the likes and the comments, to help them heal the wounds of adolescence that were never addressed. Because growing up, they didn't have connections with their parents and families like you do. You know, their mothers were strung out on drugs. They were standing outside of grocery stores asking for money just to get food to eat, to feed themselves and their siblings. You don't think about that. The tortured spirit. A lot of times you look at these pretty boys, these sexy gay men, and you look at the fact that they're in the gym 4 and 5 times a week. Yes, some of them are there for health reasons, as far as, wanting to be fit, but many of them are there because they are HIV positive or they are carrying some other sexually transmitted disease, and they're working out as a way of shielding, building that shield around themselves so that the outside world and the public never begins to question whether or not they're suffering. And I'm not saying this to attack anyone in particular, nor am I suggesting that every attractive man in our community is sick or has issues in regards to family. But what I am suggesting is that you have to look beyond the cover. You have to dissect. What I'm speaking is really factual. I'm a veteran in this scene. I've been here for 11 years. And I've met hundreds, and since I've been online, thousands. So I'm reading the stories. I'm having these direct and indirect conversations. I've lived this. Next month is Thanksgiving. Then after that, it's Christmas. While you're sitting around the table with your mother, your father, your God family, your siblings, they're longing to have that type of dinner, that type of structure with family. The highlight of their holiday is watching the Beyonce special at 9 o'clock on ABC and then getting dressed to go to the club with people who truly aren't their friends. But it appears that they're so popular because they're always photographed with people. People who, at the drop of a dime, would sleep with their boyfriends, would, steal money out their wallet, find their medications in the medicine cabinet and post it online out of rage or jealousy. I mean, this is reality. And so when you look at these pretty boys and then you're judging yourself and you're putting them on a pedestal is an idea. It is a glamorous idea. Those ideas are larger than life. So when you're putting these individuals on a pedestal, you're making them larger than life. Therefore, making it damn near impossible for you to ever reach that standard. Realize your beauty comes in the fact that you have qualities and characteristics that not everybody holds. My beauty has nothing to do with my skin complexion or my eye color or my pink lips. My beauty comes in the fact that, yes, you can line me up against every light-skinned guy in this entire community across the board. But the fact that I'm able to communicate verbally and through the written word effectively is a part of my beauty. Qualities that not every other guy you meet is going to have. That's a part of my beauty. It has nothing to do with my physical appearance. The same with you. If you were lined up against a row of men who all held your same physical qualities, what is it about you that allows you to stand out? That's your beauty. Someone who has to rely on their physical appearance to get everywhere they want to in life, to snag a boyfriend, to get money to pay a bill, to get somebody to comment on a picture on Facebook. That's not beauty. It's insecurity. It's a lack of confidence. And what you will find, as I have on many occasions, is that some of the most physically attractive people you will meet, especially the gay men in our community, have some of the ugliest and most disgusting problems. And it's all edited, filtered, censored, and photoshopped to fool the public.